Mamady Keita.
Good morning. Everybody okay? You sleeping good? Maybe come sleeping late, wake up. No? You take a coffee, no problem. Okay. We're going to do a little warm up, little wake up. About one rhythm from Wasulun, I'm come from Guinea, and to origin Wasulun, north, east to Guinea, border to Mali. I'm from a little village named Bandu, okay, but the region, Wasulun region, okay. We're going to play a little rhythm for wake up. Okay? On va fonctionner. Time.
tell us a little bit about the origins of the drum itself, where the djembe comes from. So c'est-à-dire d'où vient le djembe à son avis, et aussi comment est-ce que tu as commencé à jouer le djembe.
Ok. Je vais commencer d'abord l'histoire de Djembe, comment le Djembe est né.
I'm going to start with a brief history of the djembe itself, how it was born.
Djembe, il existe, je ne peux pas vous dire, et il n'y a aucun Djembefola, aucun maître ne peut vous dire la date exacte.
The djembe exists for a long time, but there is not any one person, one Djembefola, djembe player, who can give you an exact date as to its creation.
Mais le djembe, ce qu'on peut dire, c'est que le djembe, il est là depuis le XIIIe siècle.
What we can say is that the djembe has been here since the 13th century.
Donc c'est un vieux instrument.
It's an old instrument.
Le djembe, il est né pour accompagner les cérémonies traditionnelles.
The djembe was created to accompany traditional ceremonies, festivals.
Le djembe est né comme le symbole de la joie.
The djembe was born as the symbol of joy.
Mais ce qui est né avant le djembe, c'est les cérémonies qui sont plus vieux.
But what was born before the djembe are the ceremonies themselves, the festivals.
Avant l'arrivée du djembe, les rythmes populaires qui sont joués dans les différentes cérémonies, c'est-à-dire les populaires qui ne sont pas des rythmes des masques ou des rythmes des féticheurs, mais les rythmes populaires, c'est d'abord la situation.
So, before the djembe was created, there were rhythms that were played for traditional, popular ceremonies, festivals. These are festivals that are not connected to masked dances, where there's a mask, person dancing in a mask, or fetish, a person who has certain powers. Not those rhythms, those are different, but popular rhythms that accompany all the popular festivals and ceremonies that take place in the regular lives. Those situations existed prior to the djembe's creation.
Quand je dis les cérémonies de situation, c'est-à-dire les cérémonies de mariage,
For example, the ceremony of marriage,
les cérémonies, n'est-ce pas, de baptême,
baptisms,
les cérémonies de circoncision,
circumcision,
les cérémonies des grandes pêches à la mer sacrée,
the big fishing day in the sacred lake,
la fête des cultivateurs,
the cultivation farming festivals,
l'accueil, la fête d'accueil, l'accueil des étrangers,
welcoming of visitors,
et la fête aussi de, par exemple, quand on, comme Molbayasa, quand on fait la prière, quand on fait un vœu, il y a cette cérémonie-là aussi.
There's a ceremony, a particular ceremony, Moribayasa, which is related to making a wish.
Toutes ces cérémonies, pleine lune par exemple,
When there's full moon, there's often celebrations.
tout ça, toutes ces cérémonies, ça se passe dans la joie.
All of these celebrations are done with joy.
Et quand ces cérémonies arrivaient, les femmes chantent ces cérémonies.
So in these situations, in these celebrations, the first thing is the women are there to sing about the particular situation, event.
Et ils jouent la main.
And they play their hands. They clap their hands in a rhythm.
Ça, c'est avant la naissance du Djembe.
All of that was before the birth of the Djembe.
Donc, si nous calculons aujourd'hui les rythmes traditionnels populaires, comme j'ai dit au début, ce sont les femmes qui ont créé.
So if you consider that the origins of traditional popular rhythms, as you just explained, is in the hands of the women. The rhythms came from their clapping.
Mais les femmes n'ont pas joué le djembe dans le manding.
But in the Manding, typically women never played the djembe.
Pourquoi?
Why?
Ce n'est pas une interdiction.
It was not a prohibition or forbidden.
Les femmes ont dit, nous sommes des organisateurs de cérémonies.
The women said, we organize the festivals,
Nous chantons,
we sing at the festivals,
nous tapons la main,
we're clapping, playing the rhythm with our hands,
nous dansons.
we're dancing at the festivals.
Vous les hommes jouez djembe.
You men can play the djembe.
Mais les rythmes traditionnels, c'est les femmes qui ont créé.
But the traditional rhythms were mostly created by the women.
La situation,
So the first thing that existed, the situation,
le chant,
then came the songs to accompany this situation,
taper la main
then came the clapping, the rhythms,
et danser.
and then dancing.
Les rythmes sont nés comme ça.
That's how the rhythms on the djembe were born.
Et ça fait des centaines d'années.
Hundreds and hundreds of years.
Alors, dans cette situation, les forgerons ont pensé à créer le djembe.
So in this situation, in this time, before the djembe was created, when all of these events took place, celebrations, the blacksmiths were the ones who thought, we need to create a drum to accompany these events.
Mais où est-ce qu'ils ont trouvé l'idée de créer le djembe? De quelle image?
Where did they get the idea, the image, to create the djembe?
C'est le mortier.
It came from the mortar.
Le mortier aussi est plus âgé que le djembe.
The mortar is, of course, older than the djembe. That's the large bowl with the 6 percussion grains and such.
Vous voyez les femmes qui pilent quand c'est ceux qui ont été en Afrique, vous avez vu les femmes qui pilent les milles, qui pilent les choses.
Those of you who have been in Africa, you see the women that are crushing everything that they need for their meals. They crush and blend in these mortars.
On appelle ça la maman de djembe.
So the mortar is the mother of the djembe.
Alors ils ont pris la forme du mortier,
So they took the same form as the mortar,
mais le mortier, il n'y a pas de trou, hein.
but the mortar, obviously there's no hole. It's a solid base so that they can crush the grains.
Mais le djembe, ils ont mis le trou.
So the djembe, they made the hole go all the way through.
Avant les djembes, on mettait le trou, des trous ici, dans le bois, trou.
Before the system of rings and cords, the djembes were mounted with first drilling holes or carving holes all the way around the djembe.
Il n'y avait pas de corde.
No rope.
Donc, on mettait comme ça. On faisait les petits bois comme ça pour mettre dans la peau.
Carve little nails out of wood to attach the skin by nailing it, so to speak, around the.
Donc, ce qui fait que 5 personnes peuvent tirer la peau pour que ils mettent les petits bois là autour du djembe.
It would take many hands, say about 5 people, who would each be pulling the skin, and one person who would then tap the wood spikes into the.
Et après cette époque,
After that era,
on a commencé à coudre et à mettre la corde, mais c'est la corde des antilopes ou des biches ou des animaux qui ont la peau lourde.
so after that stage, then the skin was actually put on. The holes in the skin were then threaded, and it was usually threaded with skin from animals that had very thick skin. They would make a sort of cord out of that, antelope or other,
ou vache
or cow,
ou bien biche.
or
En tout cas,
another deer.
les peaux qui sont épais.
Thick-skinned animals, they would use the skin to thread the skin and.
Alors,
So this is how they would.
comment on appelle ça?
They would make the cord out of the skin by rolling it.
On faisait comme ça. Tressé. Ok, on tressait comme ça, et ça devient la corde. Mais chaque fois, quand on tirait, ça se cassait.
But the problem with this system was that oftentimes, each time they would try to tighten the skin on the drum by pulling the cord, the skin would break. The skin cord would break.
Et cela a continué. C'est pourquoi, même aujourd'hui, dans les villages, on chauffe les djembés.
So that's why even up to today, in many villages, that system is still used. So the way to tune the djembe is to create a little fire, and you hold the djembe skin close to the fire, which heats the skin and tunes it that way.
Mais 5 minutes,
After 5 minutes of playing, though, the sound of the skin drops, it lowers. So they have to reheat it again.
Et en 1977.
In 1977.
Non, 71. 71.
In 1971.
On a trouvé les cordes comme ça aux États-Unis, mais ça venait de l'armée.
When the ballet traveled to the United States on tour, the musicians found the rope in the United States, and it was rope that came from the army.
Et quand on achetait ça, on voyait qu'il était fort. Ça ne se casse pas.
Their idea was to purchase this and use it to thread their djembes, and they saw that it was very strong rope, and it didn't break when they would try to tighten their.
Mais le problème, puisque les djembes, ils étaient cousus, c'était avec du tout. Quand on tirait trop fort, c'est la peau qui se casse.
So now the problem was that because the cord, the rope was so strong, that when they would pull, now it was the djembe skin itself it was pierced for sewing, so the holes then would break through, and they were posed with another problem, which was that the skin was not strong enough to withhold the cords.
Et en 77,
next step, in 1977,
on a trouvé des djembés qui étaient les djembés de Sierra Leone.
We saw djembes that were drums, djembes that were coming out of Sierra Leone, which is right next to Guinea,
où ils mettaient les fils de fer, mais c'était pas dur comme ça, les fils de fer comme ça, et on a vu que on perçait plus.
So that this was a new system that they saw, which was using not the rebar metal that's used today, but it was a wire. It was metal wire that they would kind of twist and make thick to wrap around the goat skin and create the means to hold the goat skin on the drum without piercing holes through the skin. So now they had a new system, which meant that the skin was not going to break and the rope was not going to break. So always getting better and better.
Et c'est moi et Famodo qui a popularisé comme ça dans le monde.
And he and Famoudou Konate, another master drummer from Guinea, were the two that saw this and created this format for the djembes.
Et maintenant, c'est le fer.
And now it's evolved to be rebar metal, the bar that's bent. And this is popularized all over the world now as the way to mount a djembe.
On tire le djembe, le fil, si tu tires pas trop, le fil ne se casse pas et la peau, il se déchire pas. Et en plus, on chauffe plus le djembe.
So now everything is working together. The rope doesn't break, the skin doesn't break because it's not sewn. The metal helps keep the skin on tightly, and it keeps it sound. So there's no more need to heat the drum with the fire.
Et qui c'est qui ont commencé à jouer le djembe? C'est les forgerons.
So going back now into the history, the creators of the djembe were blacksmiths. So in the beginning, who played the djembe? The blacksmiths played the djembe.
Dans le mandingue, il y a plusieurs. 'castes.
In the Manding, there are many different castes.
'Castes. 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 'cas Les castes qui ont créé le djembé, on les appelle dunnun.
The caste of blacksmiths that created Djembe, they're called Numu.
C'est que des dunnun qui jouaient le djembé dans le manding.
So originally it was only the Numu who would play the Djembe in the Manding.
Pas d'autres personnes.
No other person.
Après, c'est devenu populaire.
But little by little, it became more and more popular as an instrument.
Populaire. Et le djembé, avant, on n'achetait pas le djembé.
Before, originally, Djembe was not something that was purchased.
Au village, on attache 10 noix de cola.
In the village, you gather 10 kola nuts, you attach them together.
Tu vas aller présenter ça au le vieux forgeron du village
You bring them to the elder blacksmith of the village,
pour te fabriquer un djembé.
and you ask to make a djembe for you.
Et en ce moment, les forgerons, ils fabriquaient le djembé pour mettre la joie dans le village, pour accompagner, n'est-ce pas, les fêtes traditionnelles du village. Donc, ils ne le fabriquaient pas pour l'argent, ils le fabriquaient pour le village.
So the blacksmith, when presented with the 10 kola nuts to create a djembe for somebody, the blacksmith would not create the djembe because they would be getting money, receiving money, or anything. It was simply because they knew the djembe was used in festivals, in celebrations for joy, and so it was part of the life of the village to have djembes and to have music to accompany their festivals. So it was an honor for the blacksmith to be contributing the music for these festivals and celebrations. That's why the blacksmith would carve the djembe, not for monetary reasons.
Le djembé est créé où?
Where was the djembe created?
Dans le manding.
In the Manding.
En Afrique de l'Ouest,
In West Africa,
il n'y avait pas de frontières entre les pays.
there were no borders between countries.
C'était les royaumes.
It was simply kingdoms.
En ce moment, les Blancs, ils n'étaient pas venus encore en Afrique.
In this era, white people had not yet come to West Africa.
Ce manding, quand les Blancs ils sont arrivés,
In this Manding, when the white people arrived,
ils ont divisé le manding.
they came and divided up the Manding.
Aujourd'hui,
Today,
ce manding, après la division,
the Manding is now divided.
il y a 5 pays aujourd'hui
And so there are 5 countries today
qui étaient dans ce manding.
that originally were part of the Manding Kingdom Empire.
La capitale du manding se trouvait au Mali.
The capital of the Manding Empire was found in what is today called Mali.
Donc il y a une partie du Mali qui faisait partie du manding.
So there is a portion of today's Mali that was in the Manding. Not the whole country, but a part.
Donc, une partie du Mali, une partie de Guinée, une partie de la Côte d'Ivoire, une partie du Sénégal et une partie de Burkina Faso.
So a part of Mali was in the Manding, a part of Ivory Coast, a part of Burkina Faso, a part of Guinea, and a portion of Senegal. That's the region that was the Manding Empire,
Y compris le Gambie.
which includes Gambia.
Donc, la langue malinké, ça se parle dans ce 6 pays.
So the Manding language, which in French they say Malinke, is spoken in these 6 areas.
En Guinée, on dit Maninka.
So in Guinea they call this Maninka.
Maninka, si je détaille, ça veut dire Mandinka.
If he says it slowly, it's Mandenka.
Mandinka, ça veut dire comme tu dis Dublinka,
When you say
Londonka.
Mandenka in his language, it's another way of saying you come from this place. For example, Dublin Ka, or London Ka,
ou Paris Ka.
Paris Ka.
Donc, Manding, c'était le royaume, Manding Ka, le peuple qui vit dans le Manding.
So Manding was the empire, and Manding Ka were the people who lived in the empire.
Donc, en Guinée, on dit Manding Ka.
So when you say it faster, in Guinea they say Maninka.
Quand tu vas en Côte d'Ivoire, on appelle le même ethnie Djoula.
When you go to the Ivory Coast, the same ethnic group is called Djoula.
Quand tu vas au Burkina Faso, on dit Djoula ou Bobo.
When you go to Burkina Faso, the same ethnic group is called Djoula or Bobo.
Quand tu vas en Gambie, on les appelle Mandingo.
In Gambia, they're called Mandingo, same ethnic group.
Au Mali, on les appelle Bambara.
In Mali, they're called Bambara.
Donc, dans ces 6 pays-là, on parle la même langue, mais un tout petit peu différente.
So in these 6 countries today, the language that is spoken is the same language with slight differences. But they all understand each other.
Tout ce pays-là, c'était un royaume.
All of that area was one kingdom, one empire.
Et il y a eu plusieurs rois qui ont passé là.
So there were many different kings that leaded this empire at different times.
Et le dernier roi,
The last great king of this empire,
il s'appelait Sundiata Keita.
his name is Sundiata Keita.
Donc tous les Keita que vous entendez qu'il est Keita, il est descendant de ce roi.
So all of the Keitas that you hear, that family name Keita, that means they are descendants of the family of this king.
Donc c'est une grande famille.
It's a very large family.
Et c'est le roi qui a donné la liberté aux Mandingues.
And this last king, Sundiata Keita, was the one who finally gave the liberty and the freedom to the people of the Manding.
Et c'est le roi, c'est le dernier roi et le roi qui a eu plus de succès, qui a été aimé par la population du
He
Manding.
was the last great king of the Manding and the one that was the most beloved of the Manding.
C'est là où Djembe est né.
That Manding is where the Djembe was born. That's where it comes from.
Donc faites attention, vous qui ne connaissez pas vraiment bien l'histoire de Djembe, il faut faire attention parce que dans un pays, il y a plusieurs ethnies.
So be careful, because for those of you who are just now coming to know the Djembe, who don't have much history of the Djembe, within each country there are many different ethnic groups.
Il y a le Djembe qui est aujourd'hui, où partout sur la planète tu vas trouver, c'est le Djembe des Malinké, c'est-à-dire le Djembe du Manding.
The Djembe that you see all over the planet today that has become very, very popular, this Djembe comes from Malinke people, the Manding.
Il y a certains Djembe qui se trouvent aussi, par exemple, en Guinée, qui sont de tout petits Djembe comme ça, où on attache 1, 2, 3, quelque chose comme ça, tu vois, un peu. Ça vient du sud. Mais
kind of Djembe.
C'est un petit Djembe, on appelle ça bala.
It's a Djembe that is small. It's called Djembe bala. And it doesn't have the same form as the one that we all know, that we recognize as Djembe. It's a different shape, and it comes from the south of Guinea, from a different ethnic group.
Ça, on appelle ça bala.
Bala. That's the Djembe.
C'est les Djembe qu'on prend comme ici. On joue
There's several of them
différents
attached
sons, tout
together,
petits Djembe
and
comme
they're
ça.
small, and they're attached maybe 3 or 4 together, and they're played.
Donc ça c'est un autre Djembe. Mais ça, ce Djembe, il n'est pas populaire.
Et c'est quelle ethnie?
C'est l'ethnie Guercé.
That
Et Guercé, qu'ici, Manon, Konon,
Gese,
Yakuba.
Kisi, Mano,
Kono,
Kono,
Yakuba.
Yakuba, those are all the ethnic groups that are in the south of Guinea that play the Bala djembes.
Okay?
And it's not as well known. Those djembes are not as well known as the Malinke djembe.
Mais le populaire aujourd'hui, Il est né dans le mandin. C'est les forgerons qui ont créé, mais c'est les forgerons qui jouaient avant que ça soit populaire.
The djembe that is popular today is the djembe that was created in the Manding by the Malinkas, by the blacksmiths, which originally was only played by the blacksmiths.
Ça, c'est l'histoire du djembe.
That is the history of the djembe.
Somebody, Andrew was at the first Big Bang. We're going for a record here because Robbie got to ask Tulak Gertu 2 questions. So I'm about to get to the break-even point. Mamady, I know there's 3 basic sounds in the djembe. Last night we played something called Djembe Can, and we heard all sorts of sounds that some of us never heard before on the djembe. Just how many sounds are there on the djembe? Combien de sons y a-t-il dans le djembe?
Djembe, il y a principalement 3 sons.
Principally, meaning the basics, there are 3 sounds.
Principal.
That's the basic, the foundation of the djembe are 3 very distinct sounds.
Avec les 3 sons-là, on fait tous les solos, on fait les rythmes traditionnels, on fait les rythmes créés, on fait tout avec les 3 sons.
Those 3 very distinct sounds are the ones that you need to play everything. All of your traditional rhythms, your solos, rhythms that you might create, those 3 distinct sounds are the most important and the foundation for everything.
Mais à travers le travail, l'amitié du djembe et la nature,
but through your own personal work, the work that you do on the djembe, the nature, and the energy,
l'amitié du djembe,
and your friendship, your contact, your connection with the djembe,
tu peux trouver d'autres sons.
you can find other sounds.
Mais c'est le travail.
But it's work.
Le plus grand secret du djembe, c'est du travail.
The biggest secret about playing the djembe is work.
Tu ne travailles pas, tu n'auras pas.
You don't work, you won't have anything.
Tu ne peux pas dormir et que tu te réveilles, tu deviens le champion du djembe. Non.
You can't sleep and then wake up in the morning and be the champion of djembe.
Non. Alors, il faut travailler.
You have to work.
Premier son, il est là.
This is the first sound.
Ça c'est clac.
This is what we call slap.
Deuxième son, il est là.
This is the second sound.
Ton.
Tone. It's a lower pitch.
Ton. Troisième son.
And the third sound, bass, the lowest.
Mais après, on travaille.
But then you can work to develop and find other sounds.
On cherche. On
You
cherche.
look. You look.
Après, ça c'est un autre son.
That one was a different sound. Similar to a slap, also similar to a
Ok.
That's a fourth sound.
Alors, tu as un autre son là.
Now this is yet another sound.
Ouais. Ça c'est pas. Ça c'est différent.
Do you hear the difference? This is a regular tone, regular tone.
On fait.
It has more bass in it. It's a tone that has a little more bass in it.
C'est pas la base.
But it's not a bass.
Mais
But it's somewhere between the two. Fifth sound.
en travaillant, tu trouves les sons.
Et
Mais
les plaques fermées.
ça demande beaucoup de travail. Après, on a ça. Fermé, simplement.
A closed slap.
On a ça. Et puis on a. Ça, c'est plus tard.
We also have a muted slap. There's at least
travail.
7 sounds I think he just showed you.
Tout simplement.
It's all about work.
Il n'y a pas de secret là-dedans.
There's no secrets there.
Faut travailler.
You have to work.
Et ton djembe, Mamady, les autres cordes là, la rouge et noire, the red and black ropes on that, c'est quoi ça?
C'est une décoration, mais ça protège ça aussi.
The red and black ropes are simply a decoration, but it does also protect the ropes that pull the skin.
Ça change pas le son?
Non.
It doesn't change the sound.
And something I always wonder is this from here, Junjun, Dunnun, Dunnunba, what's the right name?
Alors, il faut être clair sur le nom des instruments.
Okay, we need to be clear about the names of all of these instruments.
Les instruments qui sont derrière moi, ils sont malinqués aussi comme Djembe.
These 3 instruments behind Mamady are Malinke instruments, just like the Djembe.
Okay. Et chaque instrument a son nom.
And every instrument has its name.
Mais quand on met les 3 ensemble,
But when we put the 3 together, and we refer to the 3 of them together,
on appelle dunnun.
the Malinke word is dunnun.
Dunnun.
Dunnun. Dunnun.
Junjun, c'est ni la langue malinké, c'est ni français. Ça m'étonnerait si c'est en anglais. C'est pas espagnol. Ce n'est pas chinois. Je ne sais pas d'où vient cette langue.
The word Junjun is neither a Malinke word, neither a French word. It would surprise me if it was an English word. It's not Spanish, it's not Chinese. I have no idea where this word Junjun came from.
Alors, s'il vous plaît, n'appelez pas ces instruments Junjun. Junjun, c'est pas malinké, c'est dunnun.
So please, 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 do not call these instruments Junjun. Call them their Malinke name, which is Dunnun. Dunnun.
Alors, dunnun, c'est une famille.
Dunnun is the family of the 3 drums.
Le plus important, c'est ça.
But the most important is this one here.
Ça. On appelle ça samba.
It has its own name, which is Sangbang.
Tous les rythmes qu'on joue, la carte d'identité des rythmes, savoir quel rythme on joue, c'est ça.
All of the rhythms that we play, the identity card, the drum that tells you what the rhythm is that you're playing, is the Sangbang.
C'est samba qui dit, ça c'est Fankani.
It's the Sangbang that will tell you we're playing Funkani,
Ça c'est Djembe,
or we're playing Djembe,
ça c'est Soko,
or we're playing Soko,
ça c'est Tiriba,
or Tiriba,
ça c'est Kakilambe,
Kakilambe,
ça c'est Sorsonne,
Sorsonne,
ça c'est Kala, ça c'est Kassa, ça c'est Kassasoro, ça c'est Mendiani, ça c'est Soli, Sobonikun, Wasolunka, ça c'est comment on appelle ça? Ça c'est Jabewara, ça c'est
Zawi,
Saouli, ça c'est
Baloto,
Kuma, Wema, ça c'est Jabora, ça c'est Kondé, ça c'est Kondé 1, Kondé 2, et ça c'est Sofa. Et
let's hear all your knowledge of the rhythms you know.
c'est ça. Parce que, regarde, Mendiani, on fait ta, tuta, djembe, ok?
Because
Premier accompagnement.
consider that when we play the rhythm Manjani, the first accompaniment part on the djembe is
Ta,
da.
tuta. Second accompagnement, ta, katikita, ok? Soli, same.
But if you go to play the rhythm Soli,
Ta,
the first 2
tuta,
accompaniments on djembe,
ta, tuta. Second accompagnement, ta, tuta.
they're exactly the same accompaniment parts on the djembe for Soli as they are for Manjani.
Okay? But who tell? That's a Mendel, that's a Soli. Because history different, technique different, rhythm is different, sound different, everything is different. But Sangban said that's it, Suri. Sangban said that's like Soko. Soko.
Same as the case for Soko?
Ja. Gidamba.
Those three rhythms, Gidamba, Ja, Soko.
We play ta to ta, ta to ta, ta ka to ta, ta ka to ta, ta ka to ta. Same.
Same two accompaniment parts on the djembe.
Sangban said that's a Soko, that's a Gidamba, and this is Ja. Okay? Donc, ça, c'est le plus important.
So this drum here is the most important.
Même si vous jouez, vous n'avez qu'un seul dunnun, il faut prendre la partie du sangban.
So if you're playing and you only have one dunnun and one person that can play the dunnun, you have to take the part of the sangban. That's the heart of the rhythm.
Okay. Après ça, il vient kinkini.
The next drum here is the kinkini.
Okay. Kinkini, il accompagne sangban.
The kinkini accompanies the sangban.
Après, il y a dunumba.
And the next one, dunumba.
Dunumba, dunnun.
You see the same word, dunnun.
Ba, big.
Ba in Malinke means big. So it's the big dunnun, dunumba.
Alors, tous les deux, kinkini et dunumba, ils accompagnent sangban.
So both of these, the kinkini and the dunumba, are there to accompany the sangban.
Si vous connaissez la musique cubaine,
If you know Cuban music,
clave,
the clave,
c'est ça.
that's the heart, the code, the key, is the clave in Cuban music, the
On
samba.
ne joue jamais le djembe sans ça.
The djembe, we never play the djembe without playing samba together.
Okay. Ça c'est très important. Hein?
That's very important.
Et traditionnellement, on joue les dunnun comme ça.
And traditionally, Malinke play the drums horizontally like this with the bell on the top.
Mais il y a des villages où il n'y a pas de cloche.
But there are villages where there are no bells, so they simply play the dunnun without the bells.
Et il y a des villages où il n'y a que deux.
Some villages will only have two dunnun, not all three.
Il n'est pas dit obligatoirement qu'il faut les trois.
It's not, the villages are not obliged to have all three dunnun.
Mais pour la mélodie du rythme, la beauté du rythme, c'est mieux les trois.
But for the beauty of the rhythm, the melody of the rhythm, it's nicer when you have three,
Et avec les cloches.
and with the bells.
Merci. J'ai encore plusieurs questions, mais je veux aussi ouvrir pour tout le monde. So if anybody wants to pop in with a question now, just put up your hand. I've got loads more, but I'll sit back for a minute if we give people a chance. Yeah.
Bienvenue.
Merci.
I want to ask you the reason why you call them dunnun rather than juju. Is it because of the similarity with the word juju? Were the drums ever used as part of juju ceremony?
C'est quoi ça?
Il dit que pourquoi tu les as appelés dunnun et pas junjun? Est-ce que c'est parce que junjun il ressemble le mot juju qui est le mauvais, comme gris-gris, mais le mauvais?
C'est pas une question parce que l'autre il est juju puisqu'il est ça, mais il est né. Le nom que les forgerons ont donné cet instrument, il s'appelle dunnun, tout simplement.
It's simply because the blacksmiths who created these instruments gave them the name dunnun in the language of Malinke. Junjun doesn't exist in their language, and juju, as you refer to it, is not the word they use in Malinke for
Juju type.
juju. They don't use that word. It's another word in Malinke, so it's
Chacun a son travail.
completely unrelated to the language of Malinke.
Merci.
Somebody down the back there.
I previously saw on the internet one of you were doing this, with some of the other guys, and that design of roping around the drum, I suppose around, horizontal like that. When I saw that, I tried to slow down what I was watching to see how do you tune that? How did that design work with tuning? Because I couldn't understand that. I'm used to the ropes going down vertically. It's not like that. And then you can tune that. Yes.
Comment ça marche? Lui, il a l'habitude de voir les cordes verticales là, mais ça c'est horizontal. Il comprend pas qu'est-ce que ça fait. Je ne sais pas s'il faut l'expliquer. Ça n'a rien à voir avec l'accordage, c'est juste une décoration.
Oui, mais c'est une décoration, mais ça c'est pas très compliqué, vous savez. Il suffit de attends, oui, le commencement.
So he's going to show you. It's really not a complicated thing. It's simply a decoration. The vertical cords, the vertical rope that tunes the drum, they're all located underneath. So the system of tuning is all intact as you typically know it.
It's the normal tuning.
The normal tuning. Yeah. All that's done is a nice, pretty color is chosen and started at a certain point on the bottom and simply wrapped around to cover the rope like a nice dress or a nice suit. That's it.
Well, my contemplation was when the drum goes out of tuning and you want to tune
you have to undo all the rope,
undress
it, retune it, and redress it. It's like it's work. It goes quickly once you know how to do it. Jeremy says it all the time. Dressing, undressing.
Does Jeremy do his own drums? You put that decoration in your own drum.
Mais
when you play yourself.
Le djembe c'est un art, hein? C'est tout un art, c'est une philosophie,
c'est l'esprit, it's a spirit.
C'est immense.
It's very immense.
C'est pas seulement de jouer le djembe.
It's not just playing the djembe.
Mais l'histoire qui est derrière, qu'est-ce qu'il représente?
The history behind it, what does it represent?
C'est ça le plus important.
That's what's most important.
Ça c'est très important. Ouais.
Bonjour. I wonder, can you talk about like where you see the sort of future of djembe going? Like you've created the Tam Tam Manding sort of trainee program, like is your kind of idea, I guess. Maybe you can talk a bit about that, like, and kind of talk about maybe sort of how things have changed, like since you were learning djembe. Perhaps things are different now. Like, are people still going about it in the same way? Is there an apprenticeship that you went through that's still happening today, or maybe you can just talk about that kind of.
Il y a deux parties de sa question. Un, c'est comment tu vois le futur du djembe, parce que c'est toi qui as créé l'école et un apprentissage pour le djembe qui est très connu, Tam Tam Manding. Mais aussi, comment ça s'est changé depuis que toi tu as commencé à jouer et la façon dont toi tu as appris le djembe. Est-ce que ça se fait encore ou tout est différent maintenant?
Avant d'arriver les écoles, on apprend le djembe, c'est-à-dire c'est un instrument, après les forgerons, quand ça s'est popularisé, c'est un instrument comme tous les instruments, que les petits, les enfants, ils aiment le djembe, mais ils veulent vraiment le jouer. Ce n'est pas pour gagner de l'argent dedans, mais ils vont voir un maître pour leur initier. Tu vois? Et ainsi ils commencent.
So typically, before the Tam Tam Manding school and in the country, typically what happens is, now we're talking the evolution after the blacksmiths were the only ones to play, then it became popular, and many people would be interested in learning the djembe. Certain kids would be attracted to want to learn the djembe, but really want to learn it, not just as a hobby, but really consider it an instrument, like any other instrument. It's something that they would take seriously. So they would typically go to the master drummer and present themselves, or their family would present them, and they would begin an apprenticeship, and that master drummer would initiate them. And that was sort of the cycle of learning to play the djembe.
Mais ils font ça pourquoi? Parce qu'ils aiment le djembe, ils aiment jouer le djembe.
But they do it why? Because they love the djembe. They love to play the djembe.
Donc, moi j'ai commencé comme ça, c'est-à-dire que
that's how Mamady began.
Mon histoire est vraiment spéciale. Hein?
His history is
very
special, very particular.
Donc, j'ai commencé à jouer dans les fêtes à 5 ans. Je connaissais déjà
he began playing in all the festivals.
Tous les rythmes de ma région traditionnelle, je les connaissais.
He began playing at festivals at 5 years old. At 5 years old, he knew all of the traditional rhythms from his region from his village and his region already, and he would accompany in all of the festivals at 5 years old.
Et techniquement, j'ai pas de maître qui m'a fait jouer. Techniquement, apprendre à jouer ta tita ou ta tita ou les trois sons et tout ça, personne ne m'a appris à faire ça.
Technically, it wasn't the master drummer of his village who sat him down and said, this is how you play a slap, this is how you play a bass, this is how you play a tone. He was able to get that sound prior to having been brought to the master drummer. He was, like he said, a special case that was born for playing the djembe. So he had all of these capabilities in his hands that he simply brought forth. So his sound was there, his rhythms were there, his ears were like recording devices. Everything he heard, he would register. So before he was even initiated by his master drummer, he already had the capacity that most adults have.
Mais, même si on est doué,
But even if you are really talented, a prodigy,
on est né
you're
pour le djembe,
born for an instrument,
tu as besoin d'initiation.
you still need to get initiated.
Initiation, c'est quoi?
What is initiation?
C'est connaître d'abord qu'est-ce que c'est djembe.
First of all, it's to know what is the djembe.
Qui a créé le
Who
djembe?
created the djembe?
Pourquoi il a créé?
Why did they create the djembe?
Le djembe, quelle est la valeur de djembe dans la société du moderne?
What is the value of the djembe in the society?
Quelle est la valeur du Djembefola dans le moderne?
What is the value of the djembe player in the Mandinka society?
Et quel est l'esprit du djembe?
And what is the spirit of the djembe?
Quelle est la connexion du djembe et la nature?
What is the connection between the djembe and nature?
Quelles sont les plantes qui sont bonnes pour la main?
What are the plants that are good for your hands?
Quelles sont les plantes qui sont bonnes pour te protéger?
What are the plants that are good to protect you?
Quelles sont les plantes qui sont bonnes qui te protègent contre tes concurrents?
And what are plants that are protections against your competition? Those that want to make competition with you. There are plants that protect you.
Quelles sont les mauvaises plantes?
And there are bad plants.
Tu vois? Et
And this is all information that you learn in your initiation.
quels sont les secrets du djembe?
Then there are the secrets of the djembe.
Le djembe communique avec beaucoup de choses. Quelles sont ces choses-là?
The djembe can communicate with many things. What are those things?
Tout ça, ça fait partie de l'initiation.
All of this information is part of your initiation.
C'est pas seulement jouer djembe.
It's
Non.
not just playing the djembe.
Pourquoi? Qu'est-ce que tu joues?
You have to know what you're playing
Le rythme,
and why you're playing it.
le rythme mendianique. Pourquoi on ne joue pas à la place de rythme solide?
So, for example, the rhythm Manjani, you have to know what it's for, why it's played, and why it's not played in the situation of soli, another rhythm, which is for circumcision.
Le rythme là, pourquoi il est joué à tel moment? Pourquoi on ne peut pas le jouer à tel moment?
You have to know why you can play this rhythm at this particular time and not at this other time.
Tout ça et connaître l'histoire des rythmes,
All of this and knowing the history of all the rhythms,
les différents rythmes,
all the different rhythms,
et connaître le contexte.
and to know the context of the rhythms.
C'est ça qu'on appelle la tradition.
That's what we call tradition.
Et c'est ce qu'on transmet génération par génération.
And that's what we transmit generation to generation.
Mais c'est oral.
And this passing on of knowledge is done orally. It's not written.
Et c'est comme ça que j'ai appris.
That's how Mamady learned.
Mais après tout mon chemin de village dans la grande région, après la région, dans la capitale, après les ballets, j'ai commencé à travailler pour moi-même.
So after this whole process for Mamady, really this evolution of playing in the village, in his village, then going to the regional capital, and then going to the capital city of the country, and to the big national ballets, And finally, moving out of his own country, he decided that he wanted to work for himself.
Et à travers la tournée que je faisais avec le ballet, j'ai vu que le djembé, il y a peu de djembé, mais ils sont mal interprétés. C'est-à-dire le djembé, on ne donne pas le rôle de djembé réellement.
Through his world tours, he began noticing that there were djembes in other parts that were becoming, people were becoming interested in playing djembes in other countries. But he noticed that the value that these people gave to djembe was not the value that it should be given. And the information about it was incorrect.
Avant de créer mon école, j'ai vu qu'il y a une personne qui doit faire quelque chose pour protéger notre tradition, protéger, n'est-ce pas, c'est-à-dire que pour protéger l'histoire et la tradition des rythmes traditionnels.
At this point, he realized that somebody needed to do something to protect this tradition, to protect the information, this culture, this music, everything about the djembe. Desperately needed somebody to take it under his arm and bring it to the world in a proper light.
Je dis sinon, ça va être catastrophe.
If not, he told himself that this is a catastrophe waiting to happen.
Parce que c'était mal enseigné.
It was poorly taught,
mal informé.
Misinformed.
Et les gens jouaient même le djembe sans dunnun.
And people were playing djembe without even the dunnun. Just playing djembe.
Complètement sans dunnun. Donc c'est comme pour moi, c'est comme si tu faisais le bruit.
So for Mamady, when he would see this, it was like listening to noise. People were playing noise. They weren't playing.
Parce que ton rythme n'a pas de candidat, il n'a pas d'identité.
Because your rhythm would have no identity card. It wasn't anything.
Ouais, ce mal d'information, j'en ai vu partout en Europe.
This misinformation I saw throughout Europe.
Alors, j'ai décidé.
So I decided.
En 92,
in 1992,
j'ai créé la première école du djembe dans le monde.
I created the first djembe school in the world.
À Bruxelles.
And it was in Brussels.
Qui s'appelle Tam Tam Mandem.
It's called Tam Tam Mandem.
Ça ne représente pas seulement la Guinée.
It doesn't represent only Guinea.
Mais ça représente le Sénégal.
It represents also Senegal.
Ça représente le Mali.
Mali.
Ça représente le Burkina Faso.
Burkina Faso.
Ça représente la Guinée.
Guinea.
Ça représente la Gambie. Ça représente tout.
Gambia, Ivory Coast. The Mandem.
Donc, je dis parce que si on ne fait pas ça, toute l'histoire va être mal interprétée.
He said, if I don't do this, all of the history of the djembe will be completely misunderstood and misinformed.
Parce que je voyais que en Occident, c'est pas leur culture.
He knows that in the Western world, the djembe is not their culture.
Mais ils aiment.
But they love it.
Mais puisqu'il n'y a pas de frontières dans la musique, il n'y a pas de frontières. Le djembe ne connaît pas si un blanc qui joue, si c'est un noir qui joue.
But since there are no
Je dis,
borders,
il faut faire quelque chose.
And the djembe doesn't know if it's a white person playing it or a black person playing it. There are no borders, there are no limits. Then they need to be taught. Why can't they play?
Donc, seulement, il faut expliquer aux Occidentaux qu'est-ce que c'est un djembe.
Simply, it needs to be explained to the Westerners. What is the djembe?
Où est-ce qu'il vient?
Where does it come from?
Pourquoi il est là?
Why is it there?
Quelle est sa valeur?
What is its value?
Qu'est-ce qu'il représente?
What does it represent?
Qu'est-ce qu'il interprète?
What does it interpret?
Il faut informer. Parce que si on n'informe pas, personne ne savait.
People must be informed of this, because if you're not informed, you'll never know.
Et j'ai vu qu'il y a beaucoup de professeurs qui donnent les cours aucune information.
And I saw many professors who were giving classes with absolutely no information.
Ils donnent aucune information.
They give absolutely no information.
Mais le djembé, il n'est pas tombé du ciel.
But the djembe is not an instrument that fell from the sky.
C'est quelqu'un qui a pensé, qui a réfléchi et qui l'a créé.
It's somebody who thought a long time, reflected about this instrument, and created it.
Et cette personne, il faut le remercier aujourd'hui.
And this person we need to thank today.
Et cette
Even though we don't know
personne,
who it is, this person
et cette personne, aujourd'hui, j'ai 14 écoles dans le monde.
And today I have 14 schools around the world.
Et les écoles ont eu beaucoup de succès.
And the schools have big success.
Mais la première pensée, c'est de protéger cette culture.
The first thought is to preserve this culture.
La,
The first
cul-
concern.
la culture n'est pas pour une seule personne, mais c'est pour la nation.
Culture is not for one person, it's for the nation.
Si nous, les êtres humains, nous réfléchissons, nous faisons comme la culture, comme les instruments de musique, comme l'esprit de la musique, on n'aura pas le problème sur la planète.
If we human beings, we can take the same spirit as the spirit of the instruments, as the spirit of the music, we would not have the problems on this planet that we have today.
C'est ce que je dis. Laissons les politiciens mettre la frontière.
That's what I always say. Let the politicians put the borders up.
Mais nous, la population,
But we, the people, the population,
nous devons enlever la frontière dans le cœur pour être ensemble.
we must take out the borders in our hearts so that we can all be together.
Parce que la planète là, c'est la planète des êtres humains et les animaux et la nature.
Because this planet here is a planet for human beings, for animals, for nature.
Qu'on veut, on vit sur la même planète.
Whether we like it or not, we're all here on the same planet.
Qu'on ne veut pas, mais on va vivre sur cette planète.
We don't want to, we have no choice. We're all here on the same planet.
Pourquoi mettre la frontière?
So why put up borders?
La nature a fait que la naissance de ce monde, il n'y avait pas de frontières.
Nature existed in the beginning. There were no borders on this earth, on the planet.
Alors,
Nothing divided.
pensons un peu plus loin.
So let's think a little bit farther
C'est
beyond ourselves.
pourquoi j'ai popularisé le djembé dans le monde, mais je n'étais pas seul. J'ai été suivi par les caméras, j'ai été suivi par les presses à écrit, j'ai été suivi par les photographes, j'ai été suivi par beaucoup de gens intéressants, et que le djembé aujourd'hui c'est devenu un instrument planétaire.
I popularized the djembe, but not just me by myself. It's because I was constantly followed by media, by the press, by television, by photographers, by the students interested in this instrument. And through all of this, I was able to popularize this instrument.
Et aussi,
And today it's a planetary instrument.
je ne suis pas le seul aujourd'hui à travailler, il y a des maîtres.
And today I'm not the only one who's working for
Il y a
this.
d'autres maîtres qui viennent du Mali,
There are other masters that come from
qui viennent
different
du
countries,
Burkina Faso,
from Mali, from Burkina
qui
Faso,
viennent du Sénégal,
from Senegal,
qui viennent de la Côte d'Ivoire,
from Ivory Coast,
qui viennent de la Guinée,
from Guinea,
qui viennent dans le monde un peu partout.
who come from all over the Manding.
Et aujourd'hui, je dirais Dieu merci, parce que le message passe partout.
Today he would say, thank you, God, because the message that he is sending is passing. It's going throughout the world.
Le plus important, c'est la connaissance de Djembe sur la planète.
The most important thing is the knowledge, the familiarity of the djembe on the planet,
Mettre la lumière sur la culture.
and to shine the light on the culture behind the djembe.
En détail,
In detail,
quand on enseigne le djembe,
when we teach the djembe,
on enseigne d'abord l'histoire.
keep in your mind that you are teaching first of all, and above all, a history.
le nom de rythme,
You have to know the name of the rhythm,
l'histoire du rythme.
the history of that rhythm.
Quelle ethnie joue le rythme?
What ethnic group plays that rhythm?
Il le joue pourquoi?
Why is the rhythm played?
Et quand il le joue?
And when is it played?
Quand tu dis à ton élève,
When you say all of this information to your student,
il va jamais te dire que tu es en train de faire du bruit. Il va dire que tu es en train d'enseigner une culture.
the student will never say that you're making a bunch of noise, but the student will say that you're actually teaching him a culture.
Parce que ça, c'est important.
That's important.
La culture n'est pas née aujourd'hui.
Culture is not something that was born today.
L'homme est né avec sa culture.
Human beings are born with their culture,
Et la culture doit rester.
and culture must stay.
C'est très important pour l'humanité.
That's important for humanity.
Just two quick questions. Would you, in a situation, if you went into the capital, let's say Conakry, and you have an up-and-coming generation of djembe players that haven't been in touch with the village traditions, and they change the rhythms, would you correct them, or just hands off?
Si tu vas à Conakry et tu vas voir la prochaine génération des jeunes qui sont en train de jouer, mais ils sont nés, grandis à Conakry, ils ont perdu le contact du village et des fêtes traditionnelles. Et les rythmes qu'ils sont en train de jouer ne sont pas bien joués. Tu vois qu'ils les jouent pas correctement. Est-ce que tu les corriges?
Si je vois, et que parce que par exemple, quand tu vas dans les fêtes,
For example, you go into a celebration
les gens ils sont en train de faire leur fête de
and
mariage par exemple.
the people are in the process of having their celebration, like a marriage celebration. It's in the middle of a festival.
Je crois que ça ne serait pas une bonne idée d'arrêter tout le monde
He
et
doesn't think it's a
commencer
good
à
idea to stop
enseigner.
everybody to correct the djembe players or to new players with the correct way to play the rhythm.
Tu les laisses jouer
You let them play at the festival,
et après leur fête,
and after the festival,
tu peux appeler le maître
you can call the master, the leader,
et toi,
and you say, hey, you there,
tu n'as pas joué aujourd'hui mais tu n'as fait que des bruits.
you didn't play today, you made a bunch of noise.
Le rythme que tu es en train de jouer comme ça, c'est pas comme ça, c'est comme ça.
The rhythm that you were playing like this is not played like this, it's played like this and this and this.
Là c'est bon.
That is okay.
Je comprends aujourd'hui quand les jeunes de Bamako, les jeunes de Guinée, les jeunes de Burkina Faso,
I understand today when the young people, young drummers of these capital cities especially,
aujourd'hui,
when they play,
j'ai vu que les jeunes, au lieu de commencer par escalier 1, ils vont commencer l'escalier 10 pour descendre.
the young players today, most of them don't begin with step 1, step 2, step 3. They begin immediately step 10.
Ça veut dire quoi?
And what does that mean?
C'est-à-dire, tous les jeunes aujourd'hui, ils veulent jouer tout de suite.
It means that the young drummers today,
Tout le monde veut être star.
they want to immediately be playing the solos and be taking over the show and be stars.
Alors, avant d'être le star, il faut travailler d'abord.
Before being a star, you have to work first.
Parce que j'ai vu à Conakry qu'il y a des rythmes qu'il y a des jeunes qui font des solos dans le djembe, mais quand tu arrêtes, tu dis, fais-moi l'accompagnement, premier accompagnement, deuxième accompagnement, ils ne pourront pas.
You've seen the young drummers of Conakry who will go and do spectacular solos and rapid, and at the end, Mamady will say, play me first accompaniment part to the rhythm you were just playing. Play me the second accompaniment part. And they will have no idea. They won't know what to play.
Ça, c'est pas très bon.
That's not really good.
Un bon professeur, un bon Djembefola,
A good professor, a good Djembefola,
un maître du djembe,
a master of the djembe,
tous les rythmes qu'il joue,
all of the rhythms that he plays,
il peut jouer ensemble.
He knows how to play the rhythm on the samban.
Il peut jouer à Kenkene.
He knows the kenkeni part.
Il peut jouer Dunumba.
He knows the junumba part.
Il peut donner le premier
He
accompagnement.
can give you the first djembe accompaniment,
Deuxième
the second
accompagnement.
djembe accompaniment,
Troisième aussi, il y en a.
the third djembe accompaniment, if you have a third one,
Quatrième ou cinquième
or
aussi.
fourth or fifth if you have those.
Ça, c'est quelqu'un qui connaît sa tradition.
That's someone who knows his tradition.
C'est pas très compliqué.
Not very complicated.
Tu demandes toujours.
Always ask.
Can I
You
just
have a
ask-
second
Yeah,
question.
just a second. I know the time is getting short. Bringing the djembe to the West, blocking music, culture. How do you feel about it? Would you entrust, if you like, would you like to see people bring the spirituality, traditions, the ceremonies behind the drum? Because having the drum on its own, in some way, is empty. Without the rest, it's not the full picture. And the reason why I ask this is often in drum circles, people say, "What's that noise?" Or "Who's singing?" Or "Who's playing the balafon?" And it's like, spirit is trying to get through. And this is quite common, I find that this happens,
Tu as amené le djembe à l'Occident. Il y a plein de monde qui le jouent, mais ça manque l'esprit, la spiritualité. Et parce que dans les drum circles, pendant que les gens jouent, parfois, ils entendent le balafon, ils entendent le chant. Pourtant, il n'y a pas de balafon, il n'y a pas de chant. Mais il dit c'est l'esprit qui essaie de rentrer là-dedans. Mais ça manque. Parce que le djembe est arrivé sans l'accompagnement de l'histoire, du festival, de célébrer les fêtes traditionnelles. Comment tu peux imaginer que ça peut venir ici?
Mais écoute, c'est-à-dire que le problème, c'est qu'il y a... Les gens ont pris le djembe, beaucoup de personnes, ils ont pris le djembe par le son, par l'ambiance, c'est-à-dire sans aller au fond, sans aller comment on appelle
Au fond.
Sans aller racine, sans aller à racine.
The problem, first of all, is that most people, many people around the world, took the djembe because of the sound and the ambiance that it created. But they didn't take the roots. They didn't go to the roots of the instrument. They just took it for the sound and for the ambiance.
Moi, ça me fait plaisir que je vois aujourd'hui les Occidentaux, Américains, Japonais jouer le djembe.
It makes him very happy that he sees people of Europe and the United States and Japan and all over the world playing the djembe. That is very pleasing for him.
Mais ce qui me ferait plus plaisir
But what
que
would
ça,
make him even happier than this
c'est de connaître la racine.
is that these same people actually know the roots of the djembe.
Par exemple, j'ai été voir un drama circle à Dallas.
I went to see
Texas.
a drum circle in Dallas, Texas.
Sincèrement.
Sincerely, speaking to you all, sincerely.
5 minutes, j'ai dit de m'emmener à l'hôtel.
After 5 minutes, he said, bring me to my hotel.
Pourquoi?
Why?
Parce que j'ai vu, ce que j'ai vu là.
Because he saw, and what he saw there.
Moi, je joue djembe ici.
For
Par
example,
exemple, je joue là.
down in the drum circle, Mamady, he's there playing his djembe,
Lui, il joue conga là.
and I'm here playing congas.
L'autre, il joue tabla.
Someone else is playing tabla,
Mais je n'écoute pas ce qu'il fait.
but he's not listening to me.
Je n'écoute pas ce que tabla fait.
He's not listening to the tabla.
Tabla n'écoute pas ce que je fais.
Tabla's not listening to what he's playing.
Chacun a sa planète.
Everybody is on their own planet.
Personne n'écoute personne.
Nobody's listening to each other.
Pourquoi?
Why?
Pourquoi, quand vous êtes là,
Why is it that when you're all together there in the drum circle,
pourquoi celui qui joue tabla
the person who's playing the tabla
ne s'approche pas au djembe
doesn't approach himself to the person
et
playing
le
the
djembe
djembe,
s'approche au conga
and the djembe approach
Et les
person
trois
playing
personnes-
the congas,
et les trois personnes,
and the three people,
ils créent quelque chose,
they create something together,
ce qu'on appelle
bon esprit, on joue pour un esprit.
They create a good spirit, they play for the same spirit.
Et ils
The
jouent,
same energy.
et ils jouent, c'est-à-dire ils jouent, comment on appelle ça? Ils jouent,
Consciemment de chacun.
non, ils jouent ensemble pour réunir,
They
pour
play
l'union.
and they play together now for the unity.
Tu vois? Et moi, ça me fait mal à la tête.
So for him, drum circles give him a headache.
Parce qu'il y a moyen de faire.
Because there's a way to do it.
Quand je donne le djembe à tout un chacun de vous tout de suite,
If he were to give each and every one of you right now a djembe,
je dis bon, on va jouer coucou.
he would say, let's play cuckoo.
On joue ensemble.
We play together,
Mais pourquoi?
but why?
On joue parce que on joue, on met un thème, on dit bon,
Because we put a theme, we put an idea, we put a
un thème.
theme.
Tu
We
vois?
put an idea forth that we're going to play for this.
On dit on joue aujourd'hui
We're going to play today
tout simplement
simply because
pour envoyer notre énergie les gens qui sont malades.
we want to send our energy to people that are sick.
Et l'énergie, il va,
And the energy will go.
ça pourra aider.
And that can help.
Ou on joue, on dit aujourd'hui, on va jouer pour amener toute cette énergie ensemble aux enfants.
Or another idea, you're going to gather today and you're going to play together and you're going to send this energy to the children.
Ou on joue ensemble
Or we're going to play together
pour envoyer une énergie positive pour calmer tous les problèmes sur la planète.
simply to play together to create a positive energy to calm the problems in the planet.
Au lieu que chacun joue, personne n'écoute personne.
Instead of everybody playing whatever they want and not listening to one another, c'est-à-dire on joue un rythme ensemble.
On joue un rythme, oui, c'est
We
ça.
play one rhythm and we all play that rhythm together with the same idea, the same spirit,
Mais
same focus.
mais la soirée, ça s'appelle bonne énergie.
And the soirée, the evening event celebration is called good energy.
Et tout le monde joue, on peut jouer 20 rythmes pendant la soirée.
You can play 20 different rhythms during the evening.
On peut jouer un rythme cubain, on peut jouer un rythme brésilien, on peut jouer un rythme
A
africain.
Cuban rhythm, a Brazilian rhythm, an African rhythm,
Parce qu'il n'y a pas de frontière entre les instruments.
because there are no borders between instruments.
Il suffit qu'un commence, tout le monde rentre.
Simply, one person will start that rhythm and everybody else joins in that rhythm.
Moi, ça, pour moi, c'est ça. Il n'y a pas de...
Tu peux dire aussi que le fait que les festivals que vous jouez dans les villages sont les mêmes festivals.
Mais c'est exactement la même chose. Par exemple, quand on dit que ce festival, c'est pour le soli, par exemple.
For example, traditionally, the festival, they'll say this is the Soli festival.
C'est-à-dire que la cérémonie pour la circoncision des garçons.
Ceremony for the circumcision and initiation of young boys.
Il y a à peu près 10 villages qui arrivent.
There's about 10 villages that will all come for this celebration.
Et tous les villages là, ils jouent soli.
And all of those villages that come have their drummers, and all of the drummers play one rhythm, Soli.
Soli. Personne ne joue Mendiani.
Nobody plays Menjani,
Personne ne joue Kassa.
nobody plays Kasa,
Personne ne joue Kondeni.
nobody plays Konden.
Mais tout le monde joue soli.
Everybody plays Soli.
Mais 3 jours,
But during 3 days,
sans arrêt, on joue que soli.
non-stop, Soli.
Et c'est les chansons qui changent.
It's the songs that will change,
Mais le rythme ne change pas.
but the rhythm doesn't change.
Parce que tout le monde a le même esprit, c'est les cérémonies
Everybody
de
has the
circoncision.
same spirit. This is the ceremony for circumcision.
Et c'est une cérémonie aussi qui change la vie
And it's a
des
ceremony
garçons.
that changes the life of these young boys
Parce qu'ils vont être initiés.
because they're going to be initiated and become men.
Et c'est une initiation pour être le bon adulte après.
An initiation, become a good adult afterwards.
Donc tout le monde a cet esprit.
So everybody has this spirit, this focus,
Et ça se passe comme ça,
and it goes by like this.
sans problème.
No problem.
Alors moi je pensais que les créateurs du drum circle, ils devraient penser à ça.
So I think the creators of drum circles, they should have thought in this manner.
Réunir les gens, même
Unite people,
même esprit.
but with the same spirit, with the same focus.
L'esprit de la liberté,
Spirit of freedom,
l'esprit de l'amour,
spirit of love,
l'esprit du travail,
spirit of work,
l'esprit de la collaboration
spirit of collaboration,
et l'esprit aussi pour y penser la nature
and the spirit of thinking of nature,
et l'esprit pour y penser aux femmes, aux hommes, aux enfants
the spirit of thinking of women and men and children together,
et à notre planète.
and thinking of our planet.
Là, je suis d'accord.
Then I will agree with it.
Là, je peux jouer.
Then I can play there. I can go and play there.
Thank you very much, Mamady, for enlightening us. I think none of us will think about the djembe quite the same way again. And we're going to have this afternoon, there'll be a chance maybe for not quite as many questions, but a little bit of questions, more hands-on for people who enrolled for his workshop. You can also come and just watch the workshop too. But I would like to ask maybe would Mamady give us some music to fill our ears before we leave. Est-ce que c'est possible d'entendre encore plus quelque chose de votre musique avant de finir?
Non. Okay. Rhythm we can play now. We go to South and Guinea. Okay. We also play another rhythm from Gese people. Yeah. Okay. We're going to play. On va jouer le rythme qui nous vient du sud de la Guinée. C'est joué par les Gese. Alors, le rythme, we call this rythme l'écoulé. L'écoulé, centrifugal. One man is big player, Bala. You remember when I talk Bala about South, okay? And his wife is very big dancer. Okay? This man, great player. His wife, great dancer. Man, he love really his wife. Okay. And all festival, big festival, he played this rhythm. Only he dedicate for a wife. But this wife, she named Lekule. Okay? And this man created this rhythm for his wife. And every big festival, they play. And then he's singing, my wife is la plus belle, most beautiful woman. My wife, I love you. You cooking very nice. Yes, very good. But never forget to tell your wife when you're cooking very good. 9 to 10, I think you eat only bread. Okay? One.
Maybe I want to play this djembe with you.
Yeah.
Ita?
Who? Peut-être. Accompagnement. I give you very simple accompagnement. Okay? Because first accompagnement traditional is a little bit complicated. Okay? But it's good if it's complicated.
Brian, I think we should thank our translator as well for
Yes.
Thanks, yes.
First accompaniment, I play only you can hear. Okay? But you don't play like this. Okay? If I say 1,